If you've been using coconut oil to treat your dog's mange, you might be making things worse. I spent 3 weeks testing the supposed miracle cure on my own dog, and what I found is going to save you a lot of time, money, and heartbreak. My German Shepherd, Rocky, started losing patches of fur around his ears and paws about a month ago. The skin underneath looked red, crusty, and absolutely terrible. I took him to the vet, and after a skin scraping test, we got the diagnosis I was dreading: sarcoptic mange, also known as scabies in dogs. Now, before I could even schedule a follow-up appointment, my social media feeds exploded with people swearing by coconut oil. Hundreds of comments, thousands of likes, everyone claiming it cured their dog's mange in days, no vet visit needed, no expensive medication, just pure organic coconut oil rubbed into the affected areas. I'm not going to lie, I was tempted. The vet treatment plan was going to cost me over $400. Coconut oil? $12 at the grocery store. So I did what probably a lot of you would do. I decided to try the coconut oil first and document everything. But here's what nobody tells you about mange. There are actually two completely different types, and treating them wrong can turn a manageable problem into a nightmare that spreads to every dog in your neighborhood. Let me explain what mange actually is, because understanding this is crucial to knowing why coconut oil fails in most cases. Mange is caused by microscopic mites that burrow into your dog's skin. Think of them as tiny parasites that live their entire life cycle on your pet. They dig tunnels under the skin, lay eggs, and multiply like crazy. The two main types are sarcoptic mange and demodectic mange, and they're completely different animals. Sarcoptic mange is the contagious one. This is the type Rocky had. The mites that cause it can actually transfer to humans, other dogs, and even cats. I found this out the hard way when I started getting itchy red bumps on my arms after handling Rocky. These mites can survive off a host for up to 3 weeks, living in your carpets, furniture, and bedding. When I learned this, I realized I was dealing with something way more serious than just a skin irritation. Demodectic mange is different. It's caused by mites that actually live on every single dog naturally. Yes, your dog has these mites right now, even if they're perfectly healthy. In normal situations, a dog's immune system keeps these mites in check. But when something compromises their immune system, like stress, poor nutrition, or certain medical conditions, these mites multiply out of control. This type usually isn't contagious, which is one small blessing. The symptoms look similar for both types. Hair loss, usually starting around the face, ears, or paws. Red, inflamed skin that might look scaly or crusty. Intense itching that makes your dog miserable. Rocky was scratching so hard he was drawing blood, and I could hear him whimpering at night because he couldn't get comfortable. Now, here's where the coconut oil theory comes in. Coconut oil contains lauric acid, which does have some antimicrobial and anti-inflammatory properties. On paper, this sounds great. People claim it suffocates the mites, soothes the skin, and promotes healing all at once. The logic seems sound, right? I wanted to believe it would work, so I committed to a proper test. I bought the highest quality organic virgin coconut oil I could find. Not the cheap stuff, but the premium product that cost me $28 for a jar. I figured if I was going to test this, I should use the best possible version. My protocol was simple. Twice a day, morning and evening, I would warm up the coconut oil until it was liquid, then massage it thoroughly into all of Rocky's affected areas. I took photos every single day to track progress. I kept a journal noting any changes in his behavior, scratching frequency, and the appearance of his skin. I was meticulous about this because I wanted real data, not just anecdotal feelings. Week 1 was actually encouraging. Rocky seemed to enjoy the massages. The coconut oil definitely made his skin look less dry and flaky. The redness appeared to calm down a bit. He was scratching maybe 20% less than before. I started thinking maybe all those people online were right. Maybe this was actually going to work. But here's the thing about mange that I didn't understand yet. The visible symptoms can fluctuate naturally, especially in the early stages. What I was seeing wasn't necessarily the coconut oil working. It was just the normal progression of the infestation. Week 2 is when reality hit. The patches of hair loss started spreading. What began as small spots around his ears had now crept down his neck. New areas on his belly started showing the same crusty red appearance. Rocky's scratching got worse, not better. He was waking up multiple times every night, and I could tell he was absolutely miserable. I increased the coconut oil applications to 3 times a day. I made sure to really work it into his skin, spending 15 to 20 minutes on each session. I was committed to giving this a fair shot, but deep down, I was starting to panic. By the end of week 2, I had to face facts. The mange was spreading rapidly. Rocky had now lost fur on over 30% of his body. The skin in the affected areas looked worse than when we started. And those itchy bumps on my arms, they were multiplying too. I had sarcoptic mange mites on me, and they were not dying from casual contact with coconut oil residue. Week 3 was when I finally accepted defeat and rushed Rocky back to the vet. The vet took one look at him, and her expression said everything. The mange had progressed significantly. What could have been handled easily 3 weeks ago was now a much bigger problem. She explained something to me that I wish I had understood from the beginning. Coconut oil might have some minor benefits for skin health, but it does absolutely nothing to kill mange mites. Nothing. The mites live too deep in the skin for coconut oil to reach them effectively. Even if some coconut oil did penetrate deep enough, the concentration of lauric acid isn't strong enough to actually kill these parasites. Think about it this way. These mites have evolved over millions of years to survive in one of the harshest environments imaginable. Burrowed into mammal skin, dealing with immune responses, temperature changes, and the host's natural grooming behaviors. They're not going to be wiped out by a cooking oil, no matter how organic or expensive it is. The vet prescribed a proper treatment plan. For sarcoptic mange, the gold standard is a medication called ivermectin or selamectin. Rocky got started on a series of injections. We also had to treat our entire house. Every piece of fabric Rocky had touched in the past month had to be washed in hot water or sealed in plastic bags for at least 3 weeks. Our furniture had to be vacuumed daily. I had to treat my own skin condition with a prescription cream. The total cost ended up being over $700 because the mange had spread so much. If I had just done the proper treatment 3 weeks earlier, it would have been $400 and contained to a much smaller area. But here's what really bothers me about the coconut oil advice that's everywhere online. Within 5 days of starting the actual medication, Rocky showed dramatic improvement. The itching decreased by at least 70%. The redness started fading. Within 2 weeks, we could see new fur starting to grow in the bald patches. Within a month, Rocky was completely back to normal. 1 month on proper medication versus 3 weeks of coconut oil making everything worse. The difference was night and day. Now, I want to be fair here. I did a lot of research after this experience, and I found some interesting information. Coconut oil isn't completely useless for skin conditions in dogs. It can help with dry skin. It can provide some relief from minor irritations. It might even help with certain types of bacterial or fungal infections when used alongside proper treatment. Some studies suggest it can support skin barrier function. But for mange, the scientific evidence is clear. There are no peer-reviewed studies showing coconut oil effectively treats mange infestations. None. All the success stories you see online are either cases where the dog didn't actually have mange, cases where the mange was demodectic and resolved on its own due to improved immune function, or cases where people used coconut oil alongside actual medication and attributed the success to the wrong treatment. I also discovered something disturbing during my research. There's a huge problem in the pet care world with people treating serious medical conditions based on social media advice instead of veterinary science. Coconut oil for mange is just one example. People also try apple cider vinegar for ear infections, essential oils for seizures, and raw diets for diabetes. Some of these things might have minor benefits. Many do nothing. Some actually make things worse. The reason this misinformation spreads so easily is because of survivorship bias. When someone tries coconut oil and their dog gets better, they post about it online. They become a success story. But they don't know if their dog actually had mange or if it was just dry skin. They don't know if the condition would have resolved on its own. They don't know if their dog had demodectic mange that naturally improves when you reduce stress and improve nutrition. Meanwhile, hundreds of people like me, whose dogs got worse while using coconut oil, we don't post until after we failed. We feel embarrassed. We feel guilty for not seeking proper treatment sooner. So the internet becomes flooded with success stories, while the failures stay quiet. I'm breaking that pattern right now because I don't want other dog owners to make the same mistake I did. Let me walk you through what proper mange treatment actually looks like, because this is information everyone with a dog should know. First, you need a definitive diagnosis. The vet will do a skin scraping where they gently scrape the surface of the affected skin and examine it under a microscope. This allows them to see the actual mites and determine which type you're dealing with. Sometimes multiple scrapings are needed because the mites can be hard to find. In Rocky's case, they found the mites on the first try. For sarcoptic mange, the treatment protocol typically involves medications that actually kill the mites. Ivermectin is one option, given as injections. Selamectin is another, applied topically like a flea treatment. Some vets prefer moxidectin or other alternatives, depending on the dog's breed and health status. These medications work by paralyzing and killing the mites at all life stages. The treatment usually requires multiple doses over several weeks, because you need to kill the mites as they hatch from eggs. Just one treatment won't get them all. You need to break the entire reproductive cycle. Environmental decontamination is just as important as treating the dog. Those mites I mentioned earlier, the ones that can live in your house for weeks, they need to be eliminated too, or you'll just keep reinfecting your dog. This means intensive cleaning, hot water washing of all bedding and fabrics, vacuuming every surface, sometimes even treating carpets and furniture with specific products. If you have multiple pets, they all need to be treated, even if they're not showing symptoms. Sarcoptic mange spreads easily, and other animals can be carriers without obvious signs. For demodectic mange, the treatment approach can be different depending on whether it's localized or generalized. Localized cases sometimes resolve on their own, especially in young puppies. Generalized cases need aggressive treatment, often with daily medications over several months. The underlying cause also needs to be addressed. If the dog's immune system is compromised, you need to figure out why and fix that problem. The cost of proper treatment varies, but it's almost always cheaper than letting mange progress untreated. Early intervention means fewer medications, less environmental treatment, and a faster recovery. Now, after everything I just told you, you might be wondering if there's any place for coconut oil in managing your dog's skin health. The answer is yes, but with major limitations. Coconut oil can be used as a supplementary treatment for the dry, irritated skin that results from mange. After your dog is on proper medication and the mites are being killed, coconut oil can help soothe the skin and support healing. It's a moisturizer, not a cure. Think of it like using lotion on your own dry skin. It feels better and might help the skin recover faster, but it's not treating any underlying infection or infestation. Some people also use coconut oil as part of a prevention strategy for general skin health. A healthy skin barrier might make it slightly harder for mites to establish an infestation in the first place, but this is preventive care, not treatment. It's like how moisturizing your hands might help prevent them from cracking, but it won't cure an infection if you already have one. You could also incorporate coconut oil into your dog's diet for potential immune system benefits. Some research suggests the medium-chain fatty acids in coconut oil might support immune function. A stronger immune system is particularly important for dogs prone to demodectic mange. But again, this is supportive care, not primary treatment. The key takeaway is this: coconut oil is not medicine. It's a supplement at best. If your dog has mange, or if you even suspect they might have mange, you need to see a veterinarian. Not next week, not after you try home remedies. Immediately. I learned this lesson the expensive and painful way. Rocky suffered for 3 unnecessary weeks. The infestation spread to a much larger area of his body. I got infected with mites myself. The financial cost nearly doubled. And for what? Because I trusted random people on the internet over veterinary science. Here's what I wish someone had told me from the start. Those success stories about coconut oil curing mange, they're not lying necessarily, but they're probably wrong about what actually happened. Maybe their dog never had mange to begin with. Maybe they had demodectic mange that resolved due to reduced stress from the extra attention and care. Maybe they were using coconut oil and actual medication simultaneously. Maybe the condition was about to improve naturally and they attributed it to the wrong cause. This is why anecdotes are not the same as evidence. One person's experience, or even 100 people's experiences, don't override controlled scientific studies and veterinary expertise. Confirmation bias is powerful. When we want something to work, we see what we want to see. I'm not saying you should never research home remedies or natural treatments. I'm saying you need to understand the difference between supportive care and primary treatment. Coconut oil for dry skin? Sure, probably fine. Coconut oil instead of antibiotics for a serious infection? Dangerous. Coconut oil instead of antiparasitic medication for mange? That's what I tried, and it failed completely. The other thing I learned is that time matters with mange. Every day you delay proper treatment is another day the mites are reproducing. A single female sarcoptic mite can lay dozens of eggs during her lifetime. Those eggs hatch into larvae, which mature into adults, which lay more eggs. It's exponential growth. What starts as a small infestation can become a massive problem incredibly quickly. Rocky's mange spread to cover 30% of his body in just 3 weeks. If I'd waited another week or two, it could have been 50% or more. The psychological impact on him was also significant. Dogs don't understand why they're itching and losing fur. They just know they're uncomfortable and miserable. Rocky became withdrawn and anxious during those 3 weeks. He didn't want to play. He barely ate. Seeing him like that, knowing I could have prevented it, was heartbreaking. And let's talk about the contagious aspect for a moment, because this is serious. Sarcoptic mange spreads to other animals and humans. During those 3 weeks, I unknowingly exposed every dog Rocky came into contact with. We went to the dog park twice before I realized how contagious this was. We walked past neighbors' dogs on our daily walks. Any of those animals could have contracted mites from Rocky. I also exposed my family. My partner started showing symptoms too. We both needed treatment. If we had young children or elderly relatives with compromised immune systems, the situation could have been even worse. Sarcoptic mange in humans usually resolves on its own once the source, the infected dog, is treated, but it's still itchy, uncomfortable, and can last for weeks. This ripple effect of consequences is something nobody mentions when they're promoting coconut oil as a cure. They talk about the money you'll save and the natural approach, but they don't talk about what happens when it doesn't work. So what should you actually do if you suspect your dog has mange? Here's my recommended protocol based on what I learned. Step 1. Stop Googling for home remedies and make a vet appointment immediately. Get a proper diagnosis. Skin scrapings are quick, relatively inexpensive, and definitive. Don't guess, don't assume. Know for sure what you're dealing with. Step 2. If it is mange, follow your vet's treatment plan exactly as prescribed. Don't skip doses. Don't stop early because your dog looks better. Complete the full course of treatment. Mange mites can survive and reproduce from even a small remaining population. Step 3. Handle the environmental decontamination seriously. This isn't optional. Wash everything. Vacuum everything. Isolate your infected dog from other pets if possible. This step is tedious and time-consuming, but it's absolutely necessary. Step 4. Monitor for improvement, but give the medication time to work. You should see significant progress within 1 to 2 weeks, but complete resolution might take a month or more. Take photos to track progress objectively. Step 5. After the mites are gone and your vet confirms successful treatment, then you can think about supportive care like coconut oil for skin healing, but only after the primary problem is resolved. Is this approach more expensive up front than buying a jar of coconut oil? Yes. Is it more complicated than just rubbing oil on your dog twice a day? Yes. But it actually works, and in the long run, it's cheaper, faster, and far less stressful for both you and your dog. I spent about $700 total on Rocky's treatment because I waited too long. If I had gone straight to the vet when I first noticed symptoms, it would have been $400. If I had been doing regular preventive care and caught it even earlier, it might have been even less. The coconut oil cost me $28 in 3 weeks of my dog's suffering. That's not a good trade. The broader lesson here applies to so much more than just mange and coconut oil. We live in an age where information is abundant, but wisdom is scarce. Everyone has a platform to share their opinions and experiences. Some of that information is valuable. Much of it is misleading or outright wrong. Learning to distinguish between reliable sources and unreliable ones is a critical skill. When it comes to your pet's health, veterinary science should be your primary source. Vets spend years studying animal physiology, pathology, and treatment protocols. They see hundreds or thousands of cases. They understand the nuances that the average pet owner doesn't. Are vets perfect? No. Can you seek second opinions? Absolutely. But they should be your starting point, not your last resort after everything else fails. Social media has created this weird dynamic where people trust strangers on the internet more than trained professionals. I fell into that trap. I read dozens of posts from people swearing coconut oil cured their dog's mange, and I let that override my better judgment. I let it override the advice I got from my vet during that first appointment. Don't make the same mistake I did. If you're watching this video because your dog currently has symptoms that might be mange, stop right now and call your vet. Don't finish watching this video first. Don't try coconut oil for a week to see what happens. Call your vet today. If you're watching this video out of general interest or because you want to be prepared in case your dog ever develops mange, great. Now you know the truth. Coconut oil is not a cure. Proper veterinary treatment is fast, effective, and worth every penny. Rocky is completely healthy now. His fur grew back thick and shiny. He's back to his energetic, playful self. The mites are gone. My house is clean. My partner and I are no longer itchy. We got through this, but it was harder than it needed to be because I wasted 3 weeks on an ineffective treatment. Learn from my experience. Trust science over social media. And give your dogs the actual medical care they deserve. Subscribe if this helped you avoid a costly mistake.